Hey guys, what is going on and welcome back to the channel. It is extremely windy out today, so I apologize in advance if you can't hear me or if you just hear trees and crap blowing around. But where we left off last week, the S60 was installed. I drove it around a little bit. I haven't really been driving it since. I went only about maybe 50 miles, so there's still a good amount of driving that needs to be done before the break-in is like complete and I can start really ripping it. But today we're going to be installing the ground control weight jacks back into the car. But before we do that, we are going to have to come in here and modify this collar. I think where I ended the video last week, I mentioned that I went and put the eye springs back in the rear solely because just running the weight jack minus this collar, it was just rubbing and hitting the bump stops and scraping on everything. So I do have to go in there and get this back in to bring the rear back up a tiny bit. But for now, I do have the Pro Springs back in there. I absolutely hate the way it looks. The rear sitting incredibly high once again. So to modify this, it's going to be pretty simple. I already went and did one of them, but just to walk you through what I'm going to be doing, pretty much we just have to get a smaller pipe in here. The reason being the spring perches on the S60 are a lot thicker than the original 10 bolt. So this just physically doesn't fit inside of the perch. So with the 10 bolts here, these fit in here, you know, no problem, just like that. But the metal on the S60 is a lot thicker around here. So to remedy that is pretty simple. I already went and modified the other one. So all I ended up doing was coming in here with the Sawzall. I cut this pipe flat and then I just left the remaining piece inside of the actual threads. So once this was cut flat with the base here, I went to AutoZone and I just got this 1 7/8 inch tailpipe and pretty much just hammered it right in there. It's basically a nice tight slip fit, so that fits in there nice and snug. Being this is a small diameter, that's gonna fit into the S60 rear without a problem. So to finish this up, I just cut that flat, slipped the pipe in there, cut it to length, so 1 1/8 inch was sticking up, just like the original ground control piece. And then I just went in here with the welder and put a couple of tacks on it, just like the original one here. On mine, you can see, just put a weld there, and over there, just to keep that from falling out. But once this is in here, the main purpose of that is just to keep it inside the rear so it doesn't slide or like fall off the perch. It's really just like kind of like a big guide pin. Also, as you already saw from the thumbnail, I did go and pick up a drag setup for the rear. So let's go get the car in the air, get the ground control springs back in, we'll pull the C5s, and we'll go test fit my new drag setup. All right, so I got the car on jack stands. I have the jack under the rear axle, and my weight jacks are finished. So right now, all I'm gonna do is unbolt the bottom of the shocks, lower down the axle so the springs will come out, then we'll just go into there, slip these guys in, lift the rear up, bolt the shocks back in, then we'll pull the wheels, and I'll show you my new drag setup. So I got them in. I ran into a little trouble, so I had to come in here with the Dremel just to clear any drips of Pore 15 out of the hole. Painting them was useless. I definitely wouldn't paint them. If you're doing this to your car, the paint was just making it even harder to go in. But once I got the Pore 15 off, a few hits with the hammer, I got them to go all the way down. Spring slipped in without an issue. So now I'm just gonna go lift the axle back up, put the shocks in, then I'll show you guys my new wheels. All right, so the shocks are back on, springs are done. Now it's time to put the new wheels on. So what I have behind me are a pair of 15 by 10 Race Star rims on Mickey Thompson ET Street drag radials. I decided on a 275/50/15 size, which equates to just over a 26-inch tire. I think it's like 26 1/4. The wheels that are on the car now, the C5 18-inch wheels, I think they're just a hair under 26 inches. They might be 25 3/4. Now, as for the back spacing, as you guys know, I am running a 4th gen rear width. So when I ordered the new Strange, I did get it. So it was the same width as an equivalent 4th gen axle, just so I could continue to run my Corvette wheels without any spacers on the back. So when I got these, stock 4th gen S-body spacing would have been 7.5 inches. I got these with 7 1/4 back spacing, primarily for the fact that it is a 15 by 10, and before I had a 18 by 9.5, and that was kind of cutting it close inside the wheel well here. So I wanted to push it out just a little bit. So by going with the 7 1/4 instead of 7 1/2, that pushes the lip of the rim 1/4 of an inch further out towards the wheel well. So when they're sitting in there, they should be just inside the top of the wheel well. They are going to stick out a little more than the stock wheels, but I definitely wanted more space on the inside in case I decide to go to a bigger tire later on. I wanted to make sure I was going to have room and the tire wasn't going to end up rubbing on the inside. You can also see the rust repair I got to do back here. Right there, that got to get fixed, as well as the spot up here. The other side's even worse. But yeah, these are black chrome finish, and I love the way these look. I did want a black rim. I'm not really a fan of the polished ones. I'm probably going to get a set for the front eventually. I would have to probably get like an 18 by 4 inch or something like that, probably like a skinny for the front, just to match it. But for now, I'm just going with these for the back, so we can get back to the track and see what it will do with an actual good tire on the car. I also got a set of lug nuts here because those have to be changed. Of course, they go through the actual wheel and engage the stud a little more than a regular like acorn type lug nut. The other thing is these do require hub-centric rings. This little kit does come with them. So I already have them popped in back here, and this just pops in here. It's a plastic ring, and that just ensures that the wheel is going to be centered on the hub when you go to install it. All right guys, so it is the next day. The drag radials are on, the springs are in, and I gotta say, it's looking pretty damn good. I had to come back the next day because the wind was just out of control yesterday. You guys wouldn't be able to hear anything I was saying. All right, so here it is. And I gotta say, I love these wheels. I mean, the black chrome against the blue looks absolutely perfect. I definitely wanna go and get a pair for the front now. I'm probably going to need an 18 to clear the brakes, but they do make them in that size, so I'll probably get like an 18 by 5, or I got to see what kind of skinny sizes they have. But you can see with the ground control springs, they are sitting lower than when I had the Ibach Pros in here. It's still not as low as I would like it, but it's definitely way better than where we're sitting with the Pro Springs. Plus, the most important thing is the way the suspension is right now, aside from the rear end being changed, that's exactly how I had it when I did my other runs. So I didn't want to go in there and change the height and really mess with anything, because it was actually, it was doing pretty good traction-wise. There was no wheel hop, nothing like that. It was doing smooth burnouts. When the car was NA and I had the Ibach springs in there, I was having a little bit of wheel hop issues. I mean, when I got the lower control arm relocation brackets, that definitely helped. But once I went to these weight jacks, I mean, the difference is night and day. Even just with a little bit of time, when I swapped the Ibach springs in here the last few days and was driving around on those, it wasn't like really soft, but it was just this, you know, kind of rubbery, mushy feel to the rear end. Definitely a huge difference running these weight jacks. So I'm definitely glad I went in here and made these modifications to get these springs back in. But I gotta say, it's looking absolutely badass. I can't wait to get it to the track. Hopefully that's gonna push us into the 10s. But next step from here is a couple of things I wanna take care of before we hit the track again. For one thing, I still didn't fix that catch can, so I either have to add a vent to the little catch can I have, or I'm gonna install a second one in line with the actual breather off the passenger side valve cover, and that's going to allow you know, all the pressure to escape when it's under boost, but not actually spray the oil out of the dipstick. And then the other thing I'm going to do is install a drive shaft loop. I already went and picked up a Lakewood 3rd Gen specific drive shaft loop, so we're going to go under there, get that installed. But just to give you guys one more look before I close this out, you see with the 7 1/4 inch back spacing, the wheel is pretty much just in line with the top of the fender. And as I mentioned earlier, the reason I did this was just so I have a little extra room on the inside, not only for these, but if I want to get a wider tire. So if you were running a 7 1/2 inch back spacing with this tire, most likely gonna have to come in here and clearance this with a hammer because the tire is gonna rub. I mean, this is pretty close. It feels like there's maybe 3/4 of an inch in there of space. So just having to avoid bashing in the wheel well and trying to get these to fit, I figured I'll go with the extra 1/4 inch of back spacing to push the wheel out a little bit. But not only that, it's not so much the modification of the inner wheel well that I care about. It's mostly because I want to have room in case I want to put a wider tire on this. So by going with the 7 1/4 inch back spacing, As I mentioned, the wheel is sticking out a little bit more, so you have that little bit of extra room. It definitely gives it more of an aggressive look, having the wheel stick out a little bit more. And once I get the skinnies on the front, I think it's gonna look really, really good. But I think I'm gonna end it here. Next video, be on the lookout for it. We're gonna be installing that drive shaft loop. And then hopefully, not too long after that, we're gonna hit the track one more time before it closes for the year. I'm also gonna put a link to the wheels in the description, as well as the tires. If you want the exact ones that I have, if you have a 3rd gen with the 4th gen rear and you want a little more room inside the fender, I'm going to put a link to the 7 1/4 inch back spacing wheels that I have. Those are the 15 by 10s, and the tire, the 275 50/15 Mickey Thompson Street ET drag radial. But also, if you want the if you have a 4th gen, or you want them to kind of sit in the stock location as a 4th gen wheel, so you know, pretty much all the way pushed in where a stock wheel would be, you'll need the 7 1/2 inch back spacing. But once again, that's only if you have a 4th gen rear. If you have a stock 3rd gen rear, I'm not exactly sure what the back spacing is going to be. I want to say it's like 5 1/2, but if anybody knows, definitely leave a comment below and I'll pin you so everybody could get that information. But for now, as always, if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.